The Kiheitai are probably best known as a unit that you can recruit in the strategy game Shogun II Fall of the Samurai, which is based on the Boshin War of 1868 to 1869. But that depiction is kind of inaccurate, as the Kiheitai roughly translate as a regular militia, and the game itself shows them very much in uniform. Even though Kihei doesn't really refer towards their uniform, however, this is what they actually look like. As you can see, they were actually very much irregular. So, who actually were they? First, let's talk about terminology, because Kihei means mixed troops. Several groups have actually called themselves Kiheitai, such as the troops in Aizu during the Boshin War, as well as a group within Saigo Takamori's forces within the Satsuma Rebellion of 1877. In this video, we'll discuss the Kiheitai from the Choshu domain, as that's what people most think about when they actually hear the term. And they were incredibly important in how the Imperial Japanese Army was developed later on. So, I've already said the Kihei means mixed troops. Specifically, it means its members were of mixed social class. Merchants, samurai, even farmers were a part of this militia. They were formed in 1863 by a samurai from the Choshu domain named Takasugi Shinsaku. To understand why the Kiheitai existed the way that they did, we have to explore this man's history a bit first. So, in 1858, he enrolled in the Shohaiko, which was a military school in present-day Tokyo. His teacher, Yoshida Shoin, who he admired greatly, was arrested in an event known as the Ansai Purge in 1859. During his teacher's imprisonment, Takasugi would visit him and talk about their ideas. His teacher was then executed, and Takasugi would return home at his clan's insistence. Almost a year later, he would marry a daughter of a Yamaguchi retainer. He then left to further learn. In 1862, his clan ordered him to secretly go to China, specifically Shanghai, to see just how strong the Westerners really were. This was also during the time of the Taiping Rebellion. His big takeaways were that Japan needed to get stronger or eventually be colonized by the West. This was further supported by the Sonojoi movement, which stated that foreigners needed to leave. The shogunate must be removed and power be restored to the emperor. When he returned, he formed the Kiheitai of Choshu to defend against Western aggression, and was trained using his teacher's Yoshida Shoin's writings titled The Theory of Western Foot Soldiers. Takasugi, just 2 months after the militia's formation, was then replaced as the leader due to his men coming in conflict with another Choshu troop at the Kohoji temple, which caused the death of 2 men. After the failure of the Kinmon incident, where Choshu troops and Ronin were defeated in the streets of Kyoto after trying to kidnap the emperor and restore imperial authority. The Choshu were looked at as outsiders and enemies of the shogunate. At the same time, the Western powers were also enraged at the Choshu for attacking their ships in the Shimonoseki Strait. This led to them attacking and landing troops in 1864. The Choshu Kiheitai would then skirmish with the West colonial troops, but ultimately not be that effective at driving them away due to being massively outnumbered. And the artwork on the screen now is the Kiheitai in the distance, retreating from the advancing Western troops. After this, it would be the Tokugawa Shogunates' turn to punish the Choshu. They would launch 2 campaigns against them. The first, the shogun's forces would actually win without a shot fired. After that, a power struggle within the Choshu province would ensue between the ruling Vulgar View Party, who had negotiated with the shogunate in the first punitive campaign, and the Kiheitai rebels. Many of the units had refused to be disbanded. In January, Takasugi Shinsaku and Ito Hirobumi, along with samurai volunteers, led these men and raided government offices in Shimonoseki. The moderates in Hagi then sent men to fight the Kiheitai, and they lost. They then called for the reinstatement of Mori clan rule.
The second Choshu punitive campaign, the shogunate would lose,
and the loss of life on their side would be immense. A second Kiheitai militia had been raised in February in the Suo province, a full month before the shogun's forces would attack the Choshu. This battle, the Kiheitai forces got their chance to truly shine. Not only did they have better firearms for the most part than the shogunal forces, Minier rifles for example and gewehrs, but they also had been trained in modern tactics. Now because of these two things, despite being a very small number, they were super effective in combating the shogunate's men. Of the 3,500 to 4,000 Choshu troops, only 261 died, and around 300 to 600 of these men were the Kiheitai troops. The shogunate forces were in a lot worse shape, as they had close to 150,000 soldiers at their command. And while I don't know their exact loss, it was actually most certainly in the thousands. In 1868, they were disbanded. The Kiheitai had enlisted 622 men since its start in 1863. Not a lot of men, honestly, but they were technically the first successful modern military unit of mixed class in Japan's history, and it was a massive influence on the Imperial Japanese Army in the future. Make sure to slash that like button. See you guys next time.